This video tells the short story about my little star, my bearded dragon named Edamin, who played a role in saving my life. Edamin, also known as Eltanin, is the name of the brightest star in the Draco constellation. I thought I was being a little bit clever with that, but she'll always be my brightest star. When I got Edamin, I was 18, and I had just been kicked out of my home. When I got kicked out, I was in a terrible state. I was traumatized, depressed, suicidal, and overall just not in a good place. I wanted to get a service animal, because I had pre-existing PTSD. However, the people who took me in didn't want a dog, but would allow me to have a lizard when I asked. So, that's when I got Edamin. I thought it would be good for me to have a pet, because I would have something to rely on me, and that meant I couldn't end myself. Because my family knew nothing about caring for a bearded dragon, so I was stuck there, and she was stuck with me. But that's okay, we had a lot of fun. Shortly after I got her, she fell very ill, deathly ill. She was sleeping a lot, lethargic, she wouldn't eat, so we rushed her to a 24/7 emergency vet that took in reptiles. And it was very fun. Yes? Uh-huh. And it was very far away. It turns out she was suffering liver failure. Because she was so young, the prognosis was actually positive. Bearded dragons, or reptiles, I guess, have the ability to turn around from that sort of thing. So, 8 times a day, 8, I crushed up freeze-dried crickets, removing their extremities by hand, and crushed them into a powder to be mixed into an electrolyte solution along with antibiotics and vitamins, and force-fed her. I wasn't going to give up on her, so we did that 8 times a day, and some days it seemed like she wouldn't make it. But she made a remarkable recovery, and did in fact turn around from that, and grew into being a healthy bearded dragon. She had some health problems along the way. She never liked eating her greens, only fruits, so we kept up with regular check-ins with the vet and always had her on vitamin powder that she would always turn her snout to if there was too much because she was so picky. So I never had a stand for her lights. I always set them directly on the cage because it was a good enough distance away that she wouldn't overheat. But I made a terrible mistake one night. I set the lamp on top of its own cord. The heat from the lamp melted the plastic coating covering the wire, and the plastic dripped into the cage. Meanwhile, I was busy playing competitive Overwatch. I noticed the smell of burning plastic, but when I looked around I saw nothing unusual, only that Edamin was eating something very stringy. I assumed a bug crawled into her cage. And those were the bug's antennas. But I very quickly got fed up with the scent of burning plastic and sniffed it out. Sure enough, she had a piece of black stringiness sticking out of her mouth, and I quickly put 2 and 2 together. The plastic had melted into her cage and cooled, hardening it up again. The plastic had melted into her cage and cooled, hardening it up again, and she ate it. It was midnight. I called my grandmother in a panic because I was home alone for the week and said we had to take her to the ER vet because they needed to make her vomit or something. We waited from midnight till 5 in the morning for them to just pull the piece of plastic out of the back of her throat with a pair of forceps. But they did take an x-ray to make sure she didn't swallow any, and it came out clear. Edamin has been a great pet and companion for the better part of 5-ish years. She has certainly made these past years interesting and kept me on my toes. Her life is, unfortunately, coming to a short end. Just recently, her liver began to fail again, And I've chosen to only take this picture as her last, because I want her to be remembered as she was. She's very sickly, and it's time for her to go and become the star she's always been to me. I know this might be silly, doing this for a lizard, but thank you for watching if you did, and hearing her story.